I think it's really easy to find 100 reasons why you should move to France. Some are superficial, like the amazing and affordable wine and bread and cheese, and some are more hard-hitting, things I've discussed before, the work-life balance and the healthcare system. I find it really easy to talk about all the positive aspects of life abroad. There are many, and I do it a lot here on this channel, but it's always been really important to me to present both sides of the coin here on my blog and YouTube, just of what life can be like abroad, and not just the shiny, happy stuff. I'd be doing a disservice to you, my viewers, if that's all I talked about. So to that end, we're gonna get right into some of the reasons why you might not want to move to France. Alright, bonjour tout le monde! Welcome back to We in France, where we talk about everyday French life and beyond from the perspective of me, Diane, an American who's lived in France since 2012. Today's video, let me just point out, is sponsored by Humans app, and we'll talk about them in a few minutes, but for now, let's get right into it. My reasons why you might not want to move to France. So, don't move to France if number one is the case. If you don't plan on putting some real effort into learning the language beyond the basics. Contrary to what you might think, the French, as a whole, do not speak fluent English, and this is especially true outside of big cities. You really do need to know French. This is, again, especially true if you plan on building a life here, and you're not just passing through for a semester, for school, or a one-year job contract, or you're here on an extended vacation. I'd say to really be solid, you want an intermediate level or beyond that's necessary to integrate and to be part of the world around you. Also, I feel to show respect and to thrive in France. Imagine a foreigner moving to the US and not speaking much English. It can be done in some areas. There are thousands, maybe even millions of people that don't speak English. Overall, I feel it would be really hard to live a fulfilling life in the US without speaking decent English. In any case, it would limit you. And that's the same in France. I'm not saying you need to speak perfect French by any means. That's really daunting if you think about it. I sure don't speak perfect French. But a solid intermediate level is a good goal to aim for if you plan on making a life here. And again, I know it can seem daunting, but take the whole language learning thing one step at a time. Okay, next up, you're not a socialist and you think of it as a dirty word or anything a country does that leans in that direction. Okay, I'm kidding, kind of. What I mean is if you believe that each man's for himself and you don't believe in social programs like universal health care and a hefty chunk of your pay going to social charges and taxes and this sort of thing really gets under your skin, maybe rethink that move to France. I see this a lot where people move to France because they're in love with the idea of France. So if you're really put off by the way of life and how the government operates here and paying into the system for the greater good of all, maybe think twice about moving to France. Okay, next, don't move to France if you're not open-minded and cultural differences bring out your judgmental side, and or if you're really stuck in your ways. I think it's important to remember that France is not our home country, so it's best to not expect things to be done like they are at home. It's only normal. For me, my first couple of years here, I had to remind myself of that often. I would just see so many differences and be kind of perplexed and even sometimes annoyed. What we perceive as normal or the most efficient way to do something really holds no relevance in France because things are done differently. I think it's best to observe and learn and adapt to the French way. The sooner we can do that, the better off we'll be in the long run. I know it's tempting to refer to things in France as wrong or inefficient or dumb. I see tourists and even other residents say it all the time. I even see it in the comments of my videos where I talk about cultural differences. But honestly, if you're moving to France, resist that snap judgment and at the very least, resist saying these things in the presence of French people. Just do your best to learn and understand the French way and then go with the flow. I think that's the most respectful thing we could do. The truth here is we're all flawed humans. No one's perfect. It's normal to make sense of the world by judging things in France when you first arrive and kind of working through the stages of culture shock, but just be aware of it. Okay, next, don't move to France if you haven't done your research. I feel like so many people embark on big life changes without doing their research, and that absolutely applies to life in France. It's so easy to think life here, aligns with the romanticized notions we see in the media, and the truth is that life in France is real life. I think life's great here for many reasons, but there are pros and cons. I made a whole video on that. It's just like life anywhere, and it's so important to research all those aspects. And When we see different perspectives, we prepare ourselves for them. It's not just with the language and culture, but maybe the things we don't always think of ahead of time, but that can cause stress and anxiety. Things that aren't always so obvious, like opening a bank account, buying a house, visa applications, work culture, taxes, even the weather. So I feel like in general, surprises can be so much fun, but these are not areas where you want to encounter too many surprises. So be prepared, do as much research as possible, and that's the best thing you can do to set yourself up for success. And how? Well, you're already doing great. You're watching a YouTube channel to learn more about everyday life in France, so hit subscribe if you haven't already. Watch other YouTube channels, read blogs, forums, talk to professionals in your network, reach out to people. Another way that we can do some research, it ties in perfectly, is today's sponsor, Humans app. And now a word from my sponsor, Humans app. And as you might expect, I'm frequently contacted by members from the We in France community all over the world with questions about living in France, moving to France, and coming to France on vacation. And one of the best ways to get practical, current advice and information is talking to other people who are traveling to France or expats or even just experts in the field who know a thing or two about what you're looking for, which is why I thought it would be a good idea to partner with Humans app for this video. The idea is simple. Humans app is to connect and talk with like-minded people here on the internet about any topic under the sun. If you're traveling to France, for example, or you've moved here, or you're planning a trip here, whether you're the expert or you're the person looking for the advice, all you have to do is download the app, type in a topic like France travel, and then you'll get matched with other people who want to talk about the same topic. You can choose who you want to match with and who you'd like to decline talking to by swiping up or down, and if you both swipe up, then you can chat over text or video about your shared interest, whatever it is. And it's a great way to meet people just like you to learn all sorts of things that you just can't get anywhere else. So I've added a link down below in the description. The app is totally free of charge, and you can also just type Humans app into the App Store to find it. To match with other viewers of this channel, or maybe even me, use the hashtag FranceTravel and feel free to explore any topic that interests you. This is just an example. Okay, now back to the video. Okay, next, if you can't deal with strikes. Yes, they exist. It's not a myth, especially when it comes to transportation, and striking is part of French culture. It's an accepted thing, and the French just roll with it. Strikes have been around since the Revolution, and they include transport like trains, air traffic controls, even farmers and truck drivers. If you have a hard time dealing with disruptions to your regular routine, this might be something that will really be difficult to get used to because strikes happen and they happen relatively often. All right, next, don't move to France if you're moving to escape your problems at home. And I think this one is huge and of course can apply to a move anywhere, but specifically with France, society romanticizes life here. As I said a few minutes ago, I think it's easy to think of life in France or just abroad in general as a paradise or a 24/7 vacation. So if you're having trouble at home with any aspect of your life, well, let's just move abroad and your worries and problems will disappear. Except that's not reality. Your struggles at home, they'll move with you. So I really don't think it's a great idea to move abroad only to escape things like loneliness, grief, a toxic relationship, mental health issues, and that sort of thing. And maybe it works in the movies or in some cases, but don't let that escape be your only reason to leave where you currently are, because life's problems don't go away just because you've changed your scenery. In many cases, they could actually get worse, and you've amplified these problems because now you've added in culture shock. You've added in a new language, you've added in a new culture, so it can make them worse. Okay, next, don't move to France if you're not ready to be a foreigner and the challenges that come with uprooting your life. And if you haven't traveled much in your life and you're super comfortable and connected to your community at home, you have strong ties there, it could be really uncomfortable or even jarring to move abroad and suddenly stand out as, whoa, you're the other now. You don't just fit in, especially in small towns. And there's pros and cons to this, but if you're not ready for it, like I said, it could be jarring. And you get used to it. You get used to being the one who's different or the one who doesn't fit in, but it could be a bit of a learning curve if you aren't ready for it. And also, being away from loved ones, losing touch with people you care about, and just adapting to a new culture, the stress of it all is something I think people can sweep under the rug or they don't really think too hard about. Instead they focus on some of the positives and the excitement. And that's not to say that these challenges are insurmountable. They're not by any means. They aren't deal breakers. They're just things that I think we should give as much mental focus and attention to as we do our vacation plans, our apartment search, and our language lessons to be better prepared. Okay, next, don't move to France if you expect a fast-paced 24/7 society. And truth be told, life in France moves slower than it does in the US. Even comparing big cities like New York to Paris, the French way of life isn't the same. And I find that to be a good thing, but if you're looking for a 24/7 society where stores are open all night and they're all open late and businesses have extended hours and you could bank on Saturday at 4 p.m. and have everything else that some of us might see as normal in the US, France might cramp your style. So living slow for me personally, it's taught me to slow down, obviously, because things here are slower. But especially if you move from a big city elsewhere to a small town in France, it could be a lot. Again, I think it's a blessing most of the time, and this could depend on your personality, what you're looking for, and what you're willing to adapt to. All right, with that, I'm gonna leave it here for today. Thank you so much for watching and for listening, and thank you again to Humans App for sponsoring this video. Check them out via the link below. It's companies like Humans App that support my channel that allow me to keep on making content that's free for you. So I'd love for you to check them out. Let me know what other things people should consider before moving abroad. And if you enjoy this kind of real talk about living abroad, I'd love to hear about it below. So as always, thank you for being here. See you right back here on We in France soon. Salut!